Hey everyone, welcome to the 24th episode of the Brothers of Broad Street podcast. I'm here with Bryce Ellig. My name's Jim Croger. And as always, we got a lot to talk about. But before we get into anything tonight, we have a live bet coming from the man himself, Bryce Ellig. Bryce, how's it going?
It's going good. I did good this weekend. I went 4-0 for the weekend for the people. I had a rough little Monday night pick the other night with the Raiders, let some fans down, but I bounced back. My big bet tomorrow, I know everyone's going to be thinking, he's probably going to take the Eagles spread because he loves the Eagles, but no, the 6.5 and not feeling comfortable with it. But I am comfortable, even though it is a lot. 53 points, the over. I think that's going to hit. The Buccaneers defense has looked pretty shaky all season. They've let up a lot of points. They don't look like that dominant defense, especially the fact that I believe their quarterbacks are pretty weak. They just brought in Richard Sherman. He's not what he was. I know Bunning Jr. is out for the year. He broke his arm the first game of the season, so they've been giving up a lot of points. And also, granted, Jim, we know the Eagles defense better than anything else. Tom Brady's coming off a monster game against the Dolphins where he threw for 5 touchdowns. I don't expect him to slow down against a weak defense.
I think he'll throw 10.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of scoring in this game, for sure. Even though the Eagles are coming off a really bad offensive week, I just think Carolina's defense is a little bit better all around than the Buccaneers. I know that sounds crazy. They just have not been impressive to me, the Buccaneers. I think there's going to be a lot. I think the game might be close. I think the game's going to be close for a while. I don't hate the 6.5. I personally wouldn't take it. I'm not in love with it. Maybe my opinion changes, but I think it's going to be pretty close. I think there's going to be a lot of scoring. I expect this over to hit I expect it honestly hit pretty easily. I think both teams. I think the Buccaneers definitely score about 30-something points, and I think the Eagles won't be far behind. A lot of scoring. Expect a lot of irrelevant scoring at the end. The Eagles love to do that when they're getting blown out. They love to put on a 14.
I'm so glad you brought up that point because I was just about to say to you, I could totally see this being a, Buccaneers up 35-10, and then fourth quarter, Hurts is just airing it out, trying to get a couple touchdowns. Late, the Buccaneers are not even playing anymore.
Yeah, like a morale thing. We'll put 14 on the board just to feel good and for Hurts to pat the stats. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not hating on him. Make the stats look better when we look back a year from now. He had
Dak Prescott did that for the first 4 years of his career. There was nothing wrong with that.
Just there's nothing wrong with padding the stats. So current record is 44-28. I'm building it back up. I'm going to try to get 20 games above 500. That's the goal right now. I've been getting close, been flirting with it a little bit, but up and down, but feeling pretty good right now, coming off 4 straight wins. And, the over tomorrow, 53. Take it now. I honestly think it's going to go up before the game. I can see it being at 54.5 before the game starts. I like it at 53. I don't know how I'll feel about it any higher than that. But, take it right now, 53. Bryce's best bets. Put it out there. Going to post it on the Instagram and everything, but just letting everybody know right now, doing that, feeling good.
Yeah, it's a good thing you brought up the Instagram. If you haven't yet, follow the Brothers of Broad Street Instagram, or you can follow Bryce to get his picks as well. Bryce actually just took the liberty and he created a Twitter account. So if you guys,
the fans have been on me. I had a couple people talk to me. They said, we need you to start a Twitter for the people that aren't big on Instagram because I'm for the people. I'm trying to help everybody out. If you want to follow the Twitter page, it's bet_Bryce17. It's a picture of Bryce Harper in high school, just to let everybody know. Don't be thrown off. Just felt like that was what the picture needed to be. Just felt good about that. You'll see me. I post the pics just on the same thing on the Instagram, post them to Twitter. Feel free to talk trash. If I let you down, that's fine. I take the criticism well. I feed off the haters.
Yeah, definitely comment on his posts. Turn your notifications on if you have to, because you don't want to miss his bets.
Listen, 100, I think I'm at right now. I want to check, but I started it, I want to say about a week ago, right? 142 followers.
That's pretty good.
142 followers. I'm just saying.
That's a good pace. That's a good pace for you like to be on. But as we always say, we're a people's podcast, so reach out to us, subscribe on any platform that you use. And Bryce, another thing to touch on with your bet, report came out. Gronk's out for the Buccaneers again. That's the 3rd straight week with those rib injuries. Levante David, which I didn't even know this, supposedly got a concussion last game. He's out tomorrow.
Didn't know that. Did not know that. That's huge.
So that's huge. That could sway you one way or another. That might help the Eagles offense put a couple points on the board.
Well, the only thing that scares me a little bit is if you're going to talk about it now. Sorry, Dallas Goedert might not play because of COVID. I don't know.
I was going to bring up the Eagles injuries after the.
But if anybody, being the Eagles, I know Zach Ertz is not nearly what he was, but he's still a very capable tight end in the NFL. It's not like we're putting in some god awful player. I mean, he still can get in the end zone. Same thing for the Bucs. Gronk's out, but they still got two very solid tight ends in Brait and OJ Howard that they can find the end zone. And obviously, they've got three absolute stud wide receivers.
Oh, well, and then also Antoine Winfield's out.
That's big.
So the Buccaneers on defense, as always, this entire season, they've had a lot of big injuries. They will be injured again tomorrow on that defense. So maybe the Eagles can put up a couple points, maybe 20.
I don't think it's crazy to think that this game might be close. Tom Brady in the last couple of years hasn't played well in the Link. I was actually at the game he played last at the Link about 2 years ago. He probably played his worst NFL game in the last 5 years. He threw for 125 yards and didn't even throw a touchdown. It was a very bland game. He just doesn't tend to do well there. We'll see. I know he's got a lot of hate built up from the Eagles from losing that Super Bowl. He still talks about that. So we'll see. I mean, knowing Tom Brady, he just finds ways to motivate himself in crazy, crazy different ways. He's probably doing that right now. But I think it's going to, I think it's a big test, obviously, for the Eagles. Huge test for Sirianni going against the GOAT. Sirianni's obviously looked a little shaky so far. We can agree. But, hey, I think this game might be a little bit closer than what people think. I think maybe the Bucs pull away at the end. But I think for maybe the first three quarters, it could be a pretty close game.
All right, so now we'll get into the game. We'll talk. Obviously, like you said, they're playing tomorrow at the Link. Birds versus Bucs. So far, the Buccaneers, in my opinion, are having a pretty solid season. I know they lost that one to the Rams, but listen, AB was out that game. Gronkowski
and you got to give credit. The Rams are still a very, very good team. They're still, to me, a top 3 team in the NFL, a Super Bowl contender.
And just like Brady hasn't had the best games at the Link, he also does not play well against the Rams over the course of his career. Obviously the Super Bowl, but recently.
He didn't play that well in that game. It's not like he played great in that game.
Last year, the Bucs got killed by the Rams, and everyone was talking about, Brady's done, all that stuff. But to get back on this game, where was I headed with this? Jalen Hurts has had a pretty good season. I'm going to give it to him. However, the one thing that we were talking about earlier is the Eagles they're always losing in these games. So yes, against Carolina, they were getting killed, but Carolina didn't have Christian McCaffrey. Carolina, again, also we talk about teams playing down to the level of their opponents. It was a sloppy Eagles win. That was a sloppy Eagles win. In my opinion, they don't deserve to win that game. And
I said all week to my friend, I said to you too, I said to a couple of people, I said it's the first time I can't even remember, maybe the first time ever where I felt like after an Eagles win, it was like a loss. It was such a sloppy, ugly game. But that's where you got to give credit because it's a perfect example on how, the 49ers, we talked about how they should have won that game, over and over again. There was 10 different scenarios in my head where they could have easily won that game. And for this game, I feel like Carolina fans are saying the things that we were saying week 2. They should have won that game, but the Eagles, you got to give it. Jalen Hurts obviously probably was his all-around one of his worst games. Obviously, Dallas, he played bad, but I would say he played pretty bad. He had a really, really rough interception. Right when we got the ball back, it looked like the game was over, but he was able to, have 2 very successful drives. He had, Quez Watkins on a big ball that brought a lot of momentum. And, he had a lot of drops. Dallas Goedert had just a blatant drop, like a no one near him drop. Next play gets in the end zone. Jalen Hurts, you got to give him credit where it's due. They gritted out a win. They had a huge 2-point conversion. Not a lot of people are talking about that. That was big for the game to, give them a 3-point lead. I was honest.
Go ahead. No. That was a big time play by Hurts. I'll give it that was a big.
That was a loser. Play. That was a loser play that a quarterback like Jalen Hurts can make into a winning play. There's not a lot of quarterbacks in the league that can do that.
You're right. No, you're totally right with that. And continue your point because I know I cut you off, so I want you to finish off. But that was a big point. Bring up the 2-point conversion.
Yeah, I mean, I just thought all around, you got to give the Eagles credit where it's due. If they lose that game, it's very hard to get excited about them with their schedule coming up. Obviously, the Bucs. You got the Raiders coming up, who are a little bit of a mess right now, coming off 2 losses, don't look that great. But you got the Chargers, who look legit like an elite NFL team. You had to win that game. They gutted it out. They won the game. This division, to me, is still up for grabs. I get the Cowboys are still, they're still good. They're still very good. But I think,
You think this is up for grabs? Like, do you think the Cowboys are going to fall off in these next couple of games?
I just think the Cowboys, you got to look at it like, yes, they've had some very impressive wins, and even their loss was very impressive with the Bucs. But also, granted, week one, every team comes out a little bit, slower than others. The Buccaneers look like right now a lot hotter than they did first game of the season.
Cowboys are looking good, though.
The Cowboys are looking good, and the thing that scares me is the fact that I do honestly think they probably have the easiest schedule in the NFL. If you look at their schedule, it's an actual joke.
That defense for the Cowboys is not like the defense of the past couple years. We talked about Diggs last week. He now has 6 interceptions in the last 5 games. Micah Parsons, obviously, stud.
Yeah.
They're getting DeMarcus Lawrence back soon. So, I mean, I'm going to stick with my prediction about, I'm obviously Birds fan all the way, but I'm going to stick with the Cowboys coming out of the East.
You also got to think, though, I mean, it's still a 17-game season, and, like, I'm not hoping for it, and I'm not, like, wishing for it because I am a fan of him, even though it hurts to say. But Dak Prescott, you can't rely on him to stay healthy all season. And same with Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb. Everyone on that team's been injured before, so it's tough to say with a 17-game season that they stay 100% healthy. Also, It's the NFL. Any team can beat any team. It does happen. Crazy games happen. The Cowboys might drop a big game. I actually thought that Giants game would have been a lot closer if it wasn't for Saquon, Daniel Jones, and Kenny Galladay all getting injured and not playing. That's obviously huge when you're missing your starting running back, starting quarterback, and number 1 wide receiver, and also Sterling Shepard being out too. That was big. I mean, you got to, obviously that you got to say things like that. And also, I think their Carolina win, I thought that was really impressive at the time. Now, back-to-back losses for Carolina, and their first 3 wins, kind of similar to the Broncos, were all easy teams. Carolina, to me, doesn't look nearly as impressive as I thought they would be. So I'm not going to say that was a huge, crazy, big win for them. We still got to see them play big teams. We got to see them play legit elite teams. They have only played one so far to me. The Bucs, they lost, but they played great. So we'll see. I mean, crazy things happen. The Eagles, they could stay alive in this division with that big win, and you never know. Maybe they could pull out a win against the Bucs. I'm not saying, things are crazy.
My biggest concern about this Eagles game heading into tomorrow night is, for one, I got Miles Sanders in fantasy. And each time I watch the Eagles, I get more and more pissed off because we are actually not using.
Remember, I told you.
Not using our best player.
I told you. You were like, how do you feel about Miles Sanders this year in fantasy? I'm like, I just don't know. I don't feel good about him because I don't know how they're going to use him.
And you know what? But, like, looking at him as the player, like, he's so talented and he performs. Like, even last year we didn't run the ball that much, and he still performed. And he has a perfect opportunity to break out on this offense. And Sirianni has refused to run the ball.
And to me too, it also, sorry to interrupt you, but me too, also looks like Sirianni loves Kenny Gainwell, who's obviously shown a lot of potential in his first couple of weeks. But I feel like he's pushing more Kenny Gainwell than he is our stud running back. Miles Sanders is our guy, and he's not feeding him the rock. It's kind of crazy to me. The guy's rushing the ball 3-4 times a game. We're not going to win games like that. We're going to lose a lot of games.
Dude, at the same time, yes, he runs a lot, but he is a quarterback first. Lamar Jackson has 56 rushing attempts this year. Miles Sanders, our starting running back, has 48. Like, that's not good. That's not good.
You're gonna lose a lot of games not running the ball.
Yeah. And that's my biggest concern heading into tomorrow night, because we're already not a good running team. And that already puts pressure on Hurts, who he is shaky in first halves. He just hasn't played well in first halves at all this year. So now that defensive front for Tampa Bay, you got Sue, you got JPP, you got Shaq Barrett, you got,
the most underrated player in the league. I can't pronounce his name.
Vita Vea. You got Devin White.
Devin White's a stud.
That might be the dangerous front 4, front 7. I don't even like. They're a good defense.
No, they're the guys in the trenches for that defense are elite. I just feel like their cornerbacks, and especially not having their stud safety. That's why I feel like the Eagles can definitely put up some points against them tomorrow night.
But what I'm trying to say is, if you can't establish that run game, all the pressure goes on Hurts, and like, I don't even know what's going to happen tomorrow. Like, are they just going to have a field day with Hurts out there and just sack them left and right, or like what's going to happen? Because if you're not running the ball effectively, it's not going to open up that passing game, and the Eagles have to do that. I'm pissed. I got Sanders in my fantasy team. He's not putting up more than 8 points a week. Like, I'm trying to win games here. I'm losing.
I just think, there's a lot of things too. I saw a post today, and it was, and I want to get into it with you. It was on like a Facebook account or something. It was, how do we feel so far about Jalen Hurts? And I want your opinion before I give mine. Like, how do you feel so far about, the season so far he's had?
So far, it's not bad. Let me pull up a statistic I found today that I actually wanted to bring up to you because, listen, it's interesting, but then again, all right. So Lamar Jackson this year, in your opinion, is he having a good or a bad season?
He's having a phenomenal season.
He's playing well. He's actually carrying the Ravens this year for all the injuries that they've had. He's having a better season up until this date than what he had his MVP year in 2019. Right now, Lamar Jackson has a 67% completion percentage, 1,500 passing yards, 341 rushing yards, and 10 total touchdowns. Solid.
Very, very solid.
I think the people listening right now can see where I'm going with this. Josh Allen, is he having a good or bad year?
He's having a great year.
I know you weren't too high on him to start the season. I've always been a fan of Josh Allen, but like you said earlier before we started the show, he's having a great year. I mean,
yes, I want to go out there and I want to say I can admit when I'm wrong. I don't know what it was with me for 2 straight years. I just was not convinced. I couldn't buy myself 100% in on him. After that Chiefs game, after like actually watching him throw and run and everything and doing the hurdles and throwing those, rockets, he's definitely a top 5, if not top 3 quarterback in the league, hands down. I
could see you right now sitting watching that game. I know you were convinced the second he hurdled over that guy for that first down.
When he threw the ball to Emmanuel Sanders, it was like no one was talking about it. And I was like, that might have been the best throw I've seen, like a not Mahomes throw, like not Rodgers, not Mahomes throw, somebody else throw in a long time. And that's when I was like, this is it. They built that team around him very well. I wasn't completely bought in on them. I am now. I just think, the Steelers were a tough first game of the season because they, you never know how the Steelers are going to play you. To me, they're definitely right now the best team in the NFL with 1,000%. So I can admit to that.
So
Josh
Allen
had a very good season. Yeah.
Josh Allen's having a good season. He's got a 62% completion percentage, 1,300 passing yards, 188 rushing yards, and 14 total touchdowns. So he's right there with Lamar.
MVP.
Now on to Jalen Hurts. 64.8 completion percentage, 1,365 passing yards, 256 rushing yards, and 10 total touchdowns. So we just both talked about 2 quarterbacks that we think are having MVP caliber seasons. And statistically, Hurts is right there.
I also want to give one point is people forget. The Eagles' offensive line is completely different than it was the first game of the season. Another big, thing you got to say.
Don't bring up the offensive line right now. You didn't give that man who's in Indianapolis any leeway when he had a bad offensive line. Do not bring up the offensive line right now. Don't you dare. We're
different though
because you're not allowed to use it. You're not allowed to use it as a tape.
Okay, but before the show, what did I say?
About Wentz having a good game?
I said Wentz played his best. That game Monday night was the best game he's played in 2 years.
Wentz has been having good games. Anyway, we're getting off of him. I don't want to talk about him actually for the first time, but those stats are interesting with Hurts, and I'll give it to you about the offensive line. I'll give it to you about the whole entire team in general. Do we have some good pieces? Yes, we have very solid pieces. Some on the defensive end, some on offense. I love the way Devontae Smith's playing. He's the real deal. He's flat out the real deal. The dude's awesome. I'm always been a believer in Sanders. I still will be because I think it's going to be a typical Philly athlete. They're going to trade him. He's going to go to some team and then excel. I heard reports today that the Eagles are making calls to the Colts to try to get
Marlon Mack.
Yeah, Marlon Mack. Like we don't even know how to use our running backs that we have here in Philadelphia. Why are you?
We still have Boston Scott for 2 games of the season just for the Giants.
Just for the Giants, but. What we were talking about earlier, the first game we played, the Falcons, all right, the mainland Mustangs can beat the Atlanta Falcons. It's just the way it is. The second team, week 2, we go and play the 49ers. That was a game where the 49ers, I think, just played down to their competition, and the Eagles also missed. The Eagles, they killed themselves.
Should have won that game. The Eagles should have won that game.
They killed themselves that game. The third game, Oh, the 49ers, when they were a good defense, Hurts only threw for like 186 yards, whatever it was, 198 yards. The third game we played, who helped me out?
Dallas.
Dallas. Crushed.
We don't need to talk about it.
All right. Fourth game was Chiefs.
Chiefs, which he played very well in. I was at the game. Jalen Hurts played extremely well in that game.
But if this is where I'm getting to my point, if you look at that game, I mean, we were down by a couple possessions multiple times.
Two possessions throughout the whole entire game. Well, pretty much.
So the thing with Dak Prescott that was big over the years was, oh, he's a stat patter late in the games. Once the Cowboys are out of it because they're getting killed by their defense, Dak just starts to air it out and he throws for, say, 150 yards in the fourth quarter. That's what I'm getting a little bit nervous about with Hurts, because even in that game against Carolina, in that first half, that there was that one route where I forget his name. Johnson went out quick and Ertz did like a corner route out quick, and Quez Watkins went right down the field. He was wide open, right? Wide open, like wide open.
Yep.
All right. Hurts is still looking for that first guy, like the still.
Yeah, and I mean, you saw too when he put his hands on his head.
He knew it himself. I
was like, what happened? Why has he got his hands on his head? And then I saw, and I almost threw up.
So that's where I'm getting a little bit concerned, because I still think he's just doing, the first look for wide. Listen, I don't play quarterback in the NFL. I'm never going to. It's the hardest position in sports. But if he wants to be like a good winning quarterback, you got to be able to pick that up. You know what I'm saying? Because
you're right, 100%.
These stats are great, and he is having a good season. I'll give it to him. But they're stat patterns, in my opinion. They're stat patterns. I would like him to come out firing that way that he does in second halves tomorrow night in the first half.
The one thing I will say that I really admire and I like so far about the Eagles is that they have, even when they were getting blown out with Dallas, they showed a lot of fight. They're not giving up. And most of the games so far this season, I'd say all of them besides the Dallas game, have been close games. Even the Chiefs game. I was at the Chiefs game. Even when they were down 2 possessions, they were still scoring. It was the defense keeping them out of that game. So that was the big thing for me. So, I think that you got to give them a little bit of credit. I think for a below average team, as we both know, they're definitely not a great team. They're probably way closer. They're much closer from being a bad team to a good team. But so far this season, they've been entertaining. They're 2-3. They're not where we exactly wanted them to be, but they're still in it. They still have a chance at winning this division. I know it's crazy. Dallas, obviously, 4-1. We know, got into that before, but I'm excited about this team. I'm excited to see them. I'm not dreading them playing the Bucs. And how I was after the Dallas week. I was dreading watching them play the Buccaneers or watch them play the Chargers or something. Right now, I'm not saying I'm feeling confident, but I'm excited to see the way how Ertz plays and how he adjusts to playing the GOAT, to playing the best player to ever play this game.
Another quick stat I want to bring up. Stick with Jalen Hurts right now. The NFL leaders right now, total yards, both passing and rushing. We'll give top 5. Who do you think's number 1? Total yards right now, passing and rushing.
I'm going to say total yards passing and rushing. It's probably either Lamar Jackson or Kyler Murray.
Bingo. Lamar Jackson. He's got 1,860 total.
And I'd probably say Kyler Murray is right after him, and then Josh Allen's right after him.
No, this is where I was actually shocked too, because I would have thought Kyler Murray would have cracked the top 5. He didn't. Tom Brady.
Wow.
Tom Brady.
Oh, it wasn't even. I can't lie. I wasn't even thinking. I would have put Brady too. I don't know why.
1,800 total yards. I mean, I saw a stat when I was watching the Dolphins game last week. He had more rushing yards at one point than the Dolphins had in that game.
Do you think Tom Brady's in his prime now?
Dude, I love watching.
I saw somebody say that, and like everyone's laughing about it, but like I genuinely think he might be playing the best football he's ever played. Granted, the 2008 season when he was MVP and he tied he threw like 50 touchdowns, but man, he might throw. He's going to throw 50 touchdowns this year if he stays healthy.
He just turned 44, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. I think
in August. I think he turns 40. He turned 44 in August.
He's played 4 years as a 40-year-old quarterback. He played 10 as a 20-year-old quarterback from 20 to 30. He's got more passing touchdowns in his 40s than he had in his 20s. He's getting better.
It's like like the thing after he won the Super Bowl last year. Everyone said, "Does Tom Brady have 3 separate Hall of Fame resumes?" Yes, he does. His first 3 Super Bowl rings, then his next like 2 Super Bowl rings with the MVPs and all that, and then the last like 2 Super Bowl. I mean, he's definitely he's definitely.
It's like when they do the side by side with Kobe Bryant, number 8 and number 24. They're both Hall of Fame careers. Yeah. I wish Brady changed his number 3 different times throughout his career because he'd be in the Hall of Fame.
Well, we laugh, but by the time his career is over with the Bucs, which will probably be the time we're like 45 years old, he's probably going to have a Hall of Fame career just with the Bucs.
Let me ask you a quick question. I still have the Bucs. I still have the Bucs.
Sorry about that. Knocked over the glass. That's my bad.
Do you need to clean it up? It's all.
No. It was empty. I just knocked it over on accident. That's my bad.
All right. So obviously 6 with New England. All right. Created that NFL dynasty, that the best team ever, put together, in NFL history. Say he stays with the Bucs and wins the Super Bowl this year. Then say they sign him for another 2-year deal. Because didn't they just sign him for another 2 years?
Yeah,
maybe just 1 year. I think they signed for 2 more years.
2 more years, I'm pretty sure.
Say he comes away with like, I don't know, because I never doubt this guy. Like, say he comes away with like 5 more Super Bowls. Like, he's got 1 now, 4 more Super Bowls in the next 4 years. Because the Bucs, in my opinion, I think they're only going to get better as the year goes on. They're going to get people back from injury. I don't see anybody in the NFC really staying with them. I just don't think anybody in the NFC is as good as them. Maybe the Cardinals. Maybe.
I'm not that bought in on them yet.
I don't like the Rams. I think the Rams are just flashy.
No, I'm there for the Rams. I'm a Stafford guy. You know that. I'm there for them.
I think the Rams are just flashy. I think just like every year they'll be out early in the playoffs. But anyway, say Brady gets like 4 or 5 with the Bucs, or say he goes on to another team and wins another one. Say he comes to Philly and wins 2 in Philly. Who does he retire as? A Patriot or a Buccaneer? Like say he gets 6 with New England and he comes away with 4 with Tampa Bay.
I think he's going to retire with Tampa Bay even today. I think he's going to retire with Tampa Bay.
With the book coming out, with all this talk about Belichick and Brady and them going at it, Darrelle Revis today came out with a quote saying it was 100% all Brady in New England. And I'm starting to wonder, like, how much tension really was between Belichick and Brady. Like, is
Belichick and Brady, there's no we need to just call it out as they don't like each other anymore. Like they're like, I don't think people understand. They're not friendly. They don't like. We all know how Belichick is. We all know how Brady is. They're competitors. They're not friends anymore. They're not on the same team, so they're not friends anymore. That relationship ended ugly from those whole rumors with like how Belichick wanted to keep Jimmy Garoppolo, which no one's talking about that. That would have been the worst move in history to keep Jimmy Garoppolo over Tom Brady.
Jimmy Garoppolo just would have been a better looking Mac Jones. That's all.
Jimmy Garoppolo is the most overrated quarterback possibly that's ever played this game. The only reason people love him is because he was Tom Brady's backup 8 years ago, and everyone just still rides that out. So was Matt Castle. Matt Castle was also Tom Brady's backup. And Matt Castle wasn't a bad quarterback.
Brian Hoyer, another NFL legend.
He's still with the Patriots. He's still there. Yeah, he's still on the Patriots. Belichick brings him back every year.
There's no way he's still on the Patriots. Are you serious?
Still on the Patriots. I swear. I saw a picture the other day of him and Mac Jones walking out of the tunnel.
So they got Mac Jones, Brian Hoyer, and who's their third string? Stidham?
I guess the Stidham days are over. The Stidham days are so out.
Anyway, it's an interesting question. You see Brady retiring as a Buccaneer, like just flat out, like
I think right now. I think let's just say Tom Brady retires.
I don't think right now. I think if you get maybe.
I think he's retired. I think he retires with the Bucs no matter what. I heard Brady loves Florida. Yeah, he's always wanted to play in Florida. It's the perfect spot for him. Like he loves New England, but he loves Florida more. I heard that's what I've been hearing.
Wow.
I think if he wins this year, which as long as I say this all the time, ever since the Atlanta Falcons comeback, I've never doubted him ever again after that. So every year he makes the playoffs, I assume his team's winning the title. Single year.
That was the greatest game I've ever seen.
Well, it's the second greatest game I've ever seen.
Well, the first one was us winning the Super Bowl, but
Of course, that's the best Super Bowl. That's the best game.
I'm talking in terms of like comeback and edge of your seat kind of game. Like that was.
And I hope Brady continues that incredible legacy because we'll be able to say we beat him like our team beat him in the Super Bowl. That makes me feel like it like gives me a satisfaction. Like we beat the GOAT in the Super Bowl. The Giants fans got to brag about that for years. And they can't brag about it as much because we also did it.
I got a pop-up question for you. I saw this today. One of the WIP guys posted it. Sticking with all-time Philadelphia sports moments, that was the greatest game in Philly sports history. Winning the Super Bowl against Tom Brady, the strip sack by Graham, the Philly special by Nick Foles.
It's the best game. It's the best game in Philly history. Not even close, without a doubt.
In your opinion, what is the greatest individual play made by a Philly athlete?
Wow, that's a great question.
When the question came up, I started scrolling through comments to try to see, like, to jog my, because like first when you hear a question like that, there's
I bet you most people would say the Philly special, which you know how I feel about the Philly special. I'm very over it as an Eagles fan. Like I love the play, but I hate.
You're trying to do it now, all the time.
And everyone tries to do it. When I'm thinking about it right now, the greatest individual play, one that comes to my mind right away, and it's baseball, is the Chase Utley fake throw to first, throw to home to Chooch. That's a play.
That was awesome.
That's a very, very, very. That's a very I was in the stadium, obviously, so it's a little bit more memorable for me. But that's a play that not a lot of people talk about. That was like when I knew the Phillies were going to win the World Series. Like that was the play where everyone was like, "Now the Phillies are going to win the World Series," and that was
an awesome play. Sticking with the Phillies, someone commented Eric Bruntlett single-handedly the unassisted triple play. Do you remember that?
I do. Yeah, I remember that. I was watching the game actually. I was watching it. Jeff Francoeur hit the baseball. I remember it.
He was a Philly legend. He was in Phillies pinstripes for a little bit.
This is like when you like. This is how you know we're diehard Phillies fans. I remember like those type of things.
Oh my gosh, I remember going when I was younger. My dad and I went up early to catch some batting practice. Right, Francoeur was sitting in right field, having a catch, warming up. Dude, this was like prime.
Was prime Phillies rebuild. That was like 50 win seasons.
This was prime, like, oh my god.
That's like 2014, 15 right there.
This was like us as Phillies fans were like hoping they get to 100 losses. Like this was like prime awful.
Yeah, that's like those were like the Ben Revere was like the best player in the team days.
Ben Revere, we had Delman Young, we had Jeff Francoeur, we had
Juan Pierre.
We had Cody Ashe.
Oh, dude, that was class. That was
Jose Contreras. Like we had all these guys we were bringing in that were just 10 years way too old. Yeah. But I remember getting a signed ball from Francoeur, gave me a signed ball. So I always remember that. I appreciate that, man.
Shout out Jeff Francoeur.
Yeah, good guy. I know he's listening to the show. So Jeff, reach out, give us a call if you want to come on the podcast one time.
Shout out you, Jeff. Big fans of you.
But I mean, individual, like a sports play, like when I think of like an individual play, I'm thinking of like Derek Jeter making that cutoff for the flip, like an individual play. That's the only reason why I would count out the Philly special, because it took 3 players to make that.
Yeah, that's why I would say that. Yeah,
but obviously that's the greatest play in Philly sports history, in my opinion. Like nothing beats the Philly special.
Nothing beats the Philly special. You're 100% right. Yeah, nothing does.
The Utley call was that was a great.
I think that's the most forgotten about.
How about also the going into the 2008 run, Jimmy Rollins making that play up the middle, that diving catch to turn 2 with Utley.
Yes.
I mean, if Rollins doesn't stop that, There's so many
different plays. You want to talk individual performances or just a play? I mean, performances. You could say Doc Holliday no hitter in the playoffs was awesome. That was unbelievable.
You can go many different ways with this question, but when I saw it, I'm like, I have to ask you once we do this tonight. Because I think of individual plays, like an individual player stepping up.
I think we could both agree, though. I know this is sorry to interrupt, but the best play individual was the Brandon Graham strip sack. If that doesn't happen, we don't win the Super Bowl.
Someone talked about that in the comments. I was just about to bring that up. The Brandon Graham strip sack. Dude, I remember sitting at Rags' house watching that, and we were all and
I cried.
What?
I cried. I cried. That video of me, I cried. I got emotional.
Because as a sports fan, you know when Brady gets that ball with 2 minutes left, the game's over.
I was like, hopefully Brady scores too fast. That's all I was thinking. I was like, everybody knew there wasn't a turnover the whole game. Brady had the greatest performance in Super Bowl history that's not talked about.
Most passing yards ever. Most passing yards in Super Bowl history, and even in a postseason game. When he got that ball, we all looked around. We're like, it's over. Like, we're just hoping for a miracle. And when Brandon Graham came up with that strip sack, I mean, it was electric. So that's another good play.
The best part too is like when the strip sack happened, it took a solid 10 seconds for everybody in the room to comprehend what happened. Like everyone's like, what was it incomplete? What just happened? Who has the ball?
Dude. And we thought that we won, obviously it was pretty much sealed. But if you remember, we were down in our we were down in our
red zone.
Yeah, like our zone. Like, yeah, we had to make a couple big plays. And
Jake Elliott hit a huge field goal, very underrated field goal that no one talks about to give an 8-point lead. But then, honestly, I swear when Jake Elliott hit the field goal, I was thinking, okay, now we're going to go into overtime. Because I thought, even with no timeouts in like 30 seconds, I thought Brady could still do it.
Just to bring that up. Even when Brady got the ball back again, I thought it was over. They almost caught that Hail Mary in the end zone. Like, that was almost caught by Gronk.
I remember it was like 4th and 10 at like the Patriots were at like their own like 3-yard line because they tried to do that. I remember they tried to do that stupid like pitch in the kick return and they ended up going to like their own 5-yard line. They tried to like fake a pitch or something. It was really weird. It was a really stupid play. And it was like 4th and 10. And I remember like Pat, like Ruane was getting up and like celebrating. And I was like, sit down. Like Brady still got the ball. There's still time on the clock. I don't care that it's 4th and 10. There's no timeouts and there's 30 seconds. I was like, everybody sit down.
The another play that popped in my head, listen, the Brad Lidge, obviously that 2-2 pitch.
I was going to say Brad Lidge.
The 0-2 pitch, you got to give it to him. Dude, how about the Bryce Harper 2-2, 2 outs, bases loaded? He launches that. Like I know it was recent.
That might be at the end of the day,
we're gonna look back on that after his tenure with the Phillies. Like that was insane. That was insane.
Insane. There was a lot. There's a lot of
grand slam. Matt Stairs on this date 13 years ago ripped one into the night.
I take it back. That ball still hasn't landed.
The Matt Stairs home run. Another important home run, which happened earlier in that inning, was the Victorino 2-run shot to tie it up.
Joe Blanton home run, classic.
There's so many from all the.
Yeah, when I want to talk basketball, you got to talk about the Allen Iverson game 1 step over Tyronn Lue to steal the game. That was, that's probably the most memorable Sixers play ever. And then when it comes to hockey, I always like to bring up the Mike Richards when like he jumps over Carey Price. That was a classic.
And the Canadians, yep, I knew you were going to bring that up. We got to look back.
It's funny, like people laugh. They're like they're naming like random games 13 years ago. When you're a Philly fan, this is what your life is.
It's engraved. It's engraved into your memory. You'll remember.
Yeah, like you remember a crazy play that happens in like week 3 when the team is like when it's a tie game and the team pulls out like the Jake Elliott 61-yard field goal.
Franchise record. It's a franchise record.
I still can't believe that kick went in.
The sticking with Flyers because now Flyers are just how about Giroux? 32 seconds in against the Pittsburgh Penguins in that game 7 after he laid out Crosby.
Yeah.
If you haven't already and you're a diehard Philly sports
that's your favorite moment I think of all time.
It's my favorite
game. Yeah.
Before I'm going out to get hyped for the night, I'm turning on the Drew, checks Crosby, and then fires a top shelf goal over Marc-Andre Fleury. Like that is electric.
That's the best. Yeah, no, that might be the best Flyers.
That was a great play. Sticking with Flyers, how about Boucher coming up big with that save against the Rangers in the penalty shootout to get us to the playoffs?
Yep.
Gagne coming up big against the Bruins when we made that comeback.
I want to say the 3-0 comeback, obviously.
Yeah.
Man, this is like it's so funny. We're talking about things that happened like 10, 15 years ago, and they're just still so fresh in my mind because when you're a Philly fan, you cherish those moments. I'm
thinking of it as if they were yesterday, honestly. I remember what I was doing, where I was, the whole 9 for all those games.
Yeah. Oh God, it's classic.
Hopefully we'll have some soon. Obviously the Phillies missed out on the playoffs this year.
10 years. 10. I was at the last playoff game. I was 12 years old. I'm now 22.
It really is a shame. And when you look around these teams, the thing that frustrates me the most is the Phillies are good at spotting talent. They're good at like, all right, knowing like, all right, that guy's a known name player. Let's go out and get him. All right, let's bring him in. But the problem is that I have is they bring these guys in, and then these guys just struggle. Like you look back, we signed Carlos Santana to a huge deal. He comes in, he's awful for us. He goes back to Cleveland, he turns into an all-star caliber player.
Jonathan Papelbon was a huge signing at the time. He did not pan out very well.
Was all-star closer with the Red Sox.
You were so high on him, I remember back in the day when we were like middle school. You loved him.
Who wouldn't be? Who wouldn't be Papelbon? 2 World Series he had, or a World Series ring, great closer for the Red Sox. But then you look at other players. David Robertson, I get it. He had the injury. He was out. But we brought him in. When he played for us, he was awful. Now he's with the Tampa Bay Rays. I mean, he pitched his tail off.
Charlie Morton. I always talk about Charlie Morton. He was irrelevant. We picked him up. He tore his Achilles walking the base. He wins he wins the World Series with the Astros. He's a Cy Young for 2 straight years.
Pitching with the Rays in the World Series last year, and now this year with the Braves, he's performing well. Nick Pivetta, dude. Nick Pivetta is pitching out of his mind right now.
Brandon Workman, who we cut in the Red Sox. He's in the Red Sox. So we traded him for Brandon Workman, who now plays for the Red Sox again. How classic Phillies is that?
So to me, something is wrong with either the culture of the organization or there's got to be miscommunication from top to bottom, because they're bringing in these guys and they can't keep these guys. In my opinion, I get it. Didi had a bad year. He was hurt. He had that elbow injury or the shoulder injury, whatever was bothering him. That was lingering all year. I get it. But here's what's going to happen. We're going to cut him or we're going to get rid of him. He's going to either end up back with, the Yankees if they pick up his contract, or he'll go to some other team and he will play well. He will play well.
He'll play well. 100%. He will for sure play well.
So that's what's so frustrating for me watching these playoff games, because you got former Philly athletes playing well in these games. So where do you think they start this offseason with free agents? You think they make a big splash, or do you think they try to build up the farm system?
I think to me, I think the only really big splash I could see them making is Carlos Correa. Obviously, he's got, people.
Now, is this you speaking from a fan's perspective, or is this you speaking from a baseball perspective?
No, this is me speaking from a baseball perspective. It's not I don't think that's a crazy rumor. I've actually heard, most an analyst and everyone saying that it's either Detroit or the Phillies they see him going to. Obviously, the Yankees probably might give him an unbelievable amount of money for no reason, but it seems to me that the Yankees are pretty bought in on bringing in Trevor Story. That's kind of been the rumor for,
Correa does have a qualifying offer. So I believe that means if the Phillies offer something to him, the Astros have a chance to either match it or give him the offer first. I don't know how that works actually, but Correa, that'd be awesome if they can land him. I think the Yankees are going to open up a blank check and give it to Correa.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I wouldn't necessarily get my hopes up for it. I'd probably say if I had to put a percentage on it, there might be a 25 to 30% chance of us landing him. I don't think it's unrealistic. I think Philly's still a great market to be in. I think, you can convince a lot of players that, that team is almost there. I think they are about there. I think this is the big season for them coming up. Obviously, I still think, and at some point, I don't see what's going on with the future here. Bryson's, Scott has been our top prospect. Yeah, has been our top prospect for 2 to 3 years now. He, everyone's talking about when he's going to get caught up. Even Bryce Harper, puts him on his story all the time.
They live together.
Yeah, they live together. Talks about him all the time. Says this guy's next up. Even with Didi struggling so bad next year, they still didn't bring him up. Obviously, Torres, or I don't know why I'm blanking on his name. The little guy, 74, that played for us all year. What was his name?
Torres. Ronald Torres.
Yeah, sorry. I don't know why I was blanking on his name. Yeah. He obviously played fantastic for us all season for, a guy that we just brought in. So maybe that's what kept him off. But to me, same thing. We give Mickey Moniak all these chances. It's time to give our top guy a chance. It's time to bring him into the MLB, see what he's got.
Yeah, I think Dombrowski's a smart enough guy. I don't think he's going to prioritize a bat. or at least I hope he doesn't, because the offense for the Phillies is actually pretty good. I think it's good enough offense to win.
Oh, we definitely good enough offense. Obviously, another big thing is what are they going to do with Andrew McCutchen being a free agent?
McCutchen's gone. Now,
That was just like the most straight up thing I've ever heard in my life.
no, dude, I love McCutchen. He actually had a pretty good career here with the Phillies.
Yeah, but he had a great. I was not excited about the signing. I remember I thought he was well out.
When I saw 3 years, $50 million, I'm like, yo, he's not prime McCutchen anymore. Like, what are we
But
doing?
man, he proved me wrong. He had a great 3 years here, no doubt.
And it's a shame that he had that ACL injury because he was having a great season that year.
An all-star. He was an all-star that year, no doubt.
So, very thankful for all he did. Very good player. I just think with the age and the amount of money he's going to be asking for, I think another team that is more of a contender.
He's got New York Yankees written all over him again. He's got New York Yankees written all over him.
He's got Yankees. Maybe go back to the Giants and play for Kapler again.
I was going to say.
Maybe, I don't know. Just a team that's more in contention than the Phillies are.
I wouldn't say it's crazy if he signs back here. He seems like he really likes Philly. I mean, he's made a lot of money in his career. He might be willing to take a discount to run it back one more year because, I think everybody on this team probably feels the same way. Like they could be a World Series team. They just need to click the pieces together. They need to come together, and I think this could be the year coming up.
There's from a baseball perspective, there's two people that I think the Phillies should go after. And listen, obviously, I would love Correa. I would love Story, but I think both those guys are I think Correa's either going back to the Astros and Story's going to the Yankees, or Correa goes to the Yankees and Trevor Story.
One of them's going to the Yankees. One of them's definitely going to the Yankees.
But the one player that the Phillies needs to be number one on their list because this has not been shored up since Papelbon left. Go give Kimbrel what he wants. Bring in Craig Kimbrel.
That's where I thought you were going, and I was going to go there if you didn't.
We've been linked to this guy for too many years. I know that the who was he on before the White Sox? Help me out real quick. Who was he on before the White
Cubs?
Cubs. I know the Cubs wanted Abel, our top pitching prospect. We didn't want to give him up.
I'm happy they didn't.
Give Kimbrel a contract, whatever he wants. Solidify that closing role. Move Hector Neris down. If you re-sign Archie Bradley, whatever you want to do, you gotta get a closer because Girardi, with his years with the Yankees, he knew who was coming in, what inning, if something happened. You know what I mean? He just had
Mariano Rivera at 9 inning. He was the most. When you needed a guy to get 3 outs for you, he was the guy for 20 years.
Another player that I'm gonna touch on real quick. It's no coincidence, no surprise to anybody. Bryce Harper is best friends with Chris Bryant. He wants Chris Bryant in Philadelphia. There has never been more of a perfect match than to get Chris Bryant to Philadelphia. He's a big bat. He could bat right below Harper, and that's a duo that no one's going to want to mess with. And you could put Bryant anywhere. You could put him at first base if Hoskins is hurt. You could put him at third base if Bohm is struggling, or Torreyes, whatever. You could put him in left field or right field. If you're watching, I'm watching this series, Giants and Dodgers. Great series, by the way. Game 5 tomorrow night. Who are you taking, Dodgers or Giants?
I want to see the Dodgers win just because I don't want to see Gabe Kapler win a World Series. That's the only reason why.
Giants are awesome. They're pitching Brandon Webb tomorrow, I believe, who's a stud. But I would like to see the Dodgers win because I love Mookie Betts. He's awesome. Did you see that home run he hit last night?
Yeah, he's good.
Oh, man. My God. The dude's awesome. But anyway, go get Chris Bryant. You can move him around anywhere. Kapler's got him playing a different position every night, and it's working.
I don't know what it is with me. I'm not that fond of Chris Bryant. I think he's kind of one of those guys that have just been kind of just because he was the number 1 pick in the draft and he won an MVP and a World Series so quick in his career. I just see him as kind of an overrated player. Obviously, we can bring him in. People forget the Phillies are a top market team. They've got a ton of money to spend. Even with the huge contract with Bryce Harper, the Phillies can spend a lot of money. I just think I more prioritize getting Carlos Correa rather than him because I think they're going to give Alec Boom another shot, hoping he has a better year, a sophomore slump, obviously. It happens to a lot of players, hoping he can bounce back for a big year 3. We'll see, obviously, though, if they have a chance to bring in Chris Bryant, they're going to do it.
Yeah. And then this is a, bold prediction, not going to happen. But
I want to hear this.
Watching the series, the Dodgers Giants, and watching him pitch in the wild card game. Max Scherzer is still Max Scherzer.
Jim, come down to earth. We're not getting Max Scherzer. He's not going to sign with the Phillies.
Listen, I just said this is a way out bold prediction. But if they're serious about spending the money, and John Middleton's doing all this talking with, you could spend whatever you want. Go give Scherzer the 2-3 year deal that he's going to be asking for at the end of the season.
I would do it in a heartbeat.
The Dodgers are a team that have a lot of decisions to make this offseason. Corey Seager's a free agent, another person to keep an eye out for the Phillies. Lefty bat, good shortstop.
He's leaving. I heard a lot rumors he's going to go to Seattle.
Big payday coming up for him. Max Scherzer, free agent.
I think Justin Turner's a free agent.
That's Justin Turner, free agent. So
listen. There's going to be a big name or two that leaves. Chris Taylor's a free agent, not a big name, but a guy that's
key contributor for the team. So the Dodgers are going to have to make a decision whether it's buy again all these guys or start a rebuild process. Trey Turner, I think, is coming up on I think he's got 2 years left. Like he's going to ask for a big payday. That's why the Nationals got rid of him.
He's a superstar.
So, I'm just saying, like I said, way too bold prediction, just throwing it out there. But if the Phillies, they need to get a third starter. I know with Eflin coming back, they'll get somebody. But Wheeler showed he's our ace. Nola showed that he cannot be trusted.
Nola showed that he's not our ace.
So you got to bring in a second guy. You got to get a second guy, in my opinion. Suarez pitched well. So now, even if you get not Scherzer, it doesn't have to be Scherzer, but some starter, you get Wheeler, the starter you sign, Nola, Eflin or Suarez.
That's a legit starting forward because to me, I think Eflin's a perfect four to have.
So right there, I think that would work for the Philadelphia Phillies. Give Scherzer if there's a chance. Plus, Scherzer's pitched in the NL East for the last, 10 years with 7 years for the Nationals. So he's pitched in the NL so he knows these batters.
That long? I don't think that long, was he?
He signed a 7-year deal with the Nationals. I'm almost positive.
Wow, it's that time flies.
Time flies, dude. And he's been in the National League for a while now. He knows the batters. He knows the fields. He knows everything. So
he's also a lunatic. I love his energy.
Oh my
he's
God.
Like out of his mind, crazy.
Dude, the dude's a beast. He's got the 2 different color eyes.
That's awesome.
He's a beast. He's a beast. I would love that. I would get a Scherzer jersey immediately.
I just think, I wouldn't get our hopes up too high. I could see him not signing any big names, but
not comparing the two players at all. But it was like the Phillies when they made the big move for Holiday. Like obviously we saw Cole Hamels as our ace, but we knew we needed another guy. They went out and put all their chips in for Holiday. Wheeler's our ace, but we need another guy. So why not get Scherzer for the last 2-3 years of his career and have him ball out?
No, yeah.
Just like Holiday did with us. Not comparing the two pitchers, like I said, but just like Holiday.
Making it very clear, not comparing here.
Holiday was awesome for us for the 3 out of the 4 years. Let's bring in Scherzer for 3 years.
I mean, people don't realize like the Phillies are there. Like we just need the little patch ups at the end. The Phillies are a good team. People talk about it all the time. Like, I mean, we talk about it with, Ant and Newt and guys that aren't fans of the Phillies. They talk about how all around good the Phillies roster is, and people don't understand why they can't get the job done.
Yeah, it's a shame when you have a potential Cy Young, not anymore, but a Cy Young candidate, and you have, in my opinion, the most valuable player in Bryce Harper. So like how you're not in the playoffs right now, it's frustrating. But it's up to you. We got 5 minutes left on this episode. Do you want to talk? Do you want to start up another one and talk Simmons?
Yeah, we could talk Simmons
for a little bit.
Yeah.
All right, I'll stop this. I'll stop the audio and then we'll get it going. We'll talk Simmons. But anyway, guys, that's the first part of the Brothers of Broad Street podcast, episode 24, the Mamba episode.
The greatest player of all time, the greatest player to ever step foot on a basketball court.
We could talk about that in a different episode, but if you haven't already, follow Bryce's new Twitter account, the Bryce's Best Bets. He has a bet coming in tomorrow.
Bet _ Bryce 17. You got to look it up like that. I don't know why, but yeah, so it's like the rules.
If you haven't already, follow the Brothers of Broad Street Instagram account. You could also follow Bryce and I, and then obviously YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Subscribe, guys. We appreciate the support, and we'll be right back here for part 2. Just give us 1 minute.